I lost my father recently, and like I said, he loved barbecue. And my dad only got to see me cook at one contest. And so if I were able to reach back and say, to pick somebody, just anybody to cook with, I would definitely, it would have to be my dad. He mentored me in my life. He gave me a lot of life lessons. He taught me to be the man that I am today.
Mhm.
And so if I got to spend one more time with him, I sure would take it.
They gon' have barbecue. They gon' have barbecue. They gon' have barbecue. They gon' have barbecue. Get your barbecue on. Get your barbecue.
Ever notice how the sound of sizzling meat and the smell of smoke can silence the noise of the world? Now that's barbecue therapy. If the fire moves you, like, subscribe, share, and help spread the message because growth, like good barbecue, takes time and patience. Welcome to your therapy session. Welcome to the Barbecue Therapy Podcast. My name is Tavis Bryant, and tonight on Barbecue Therapy, we're joined by a man who's built a name for himself one rib at a time, Luke Short Sr., known for his fierce flavor and consistent presence on the Rib Cookoff Association circuit. Luke has become a standout competitor in one of the fastest growing formats in barbecue. Whether he's behind the pit or sharing stories from the road, his passion for ribs and competition cooking shines through every bite. In this episode, we'll dig into Luke's journey into barbecue, what makes RCOA different, and how he keeps his edge in a game where one bite is all it takes to win or lose. Welcome to the show. I got one rule: make yourself at home. I had no sponsors, so speak freely and enjoy yourself.
Thank you for having me.
All right, no problem. All right, first question I usually do is the origin. Take us back to when you first came around barbecue. Was it when you were growing up, or was it after you left the house? How did that occur?
It was My dad loved barbecue. My dad was always unfortunately, dad wasn't real good at fire management, but some of his best stories were going to the old barbecue joints up where I grew up in northeastern Missouri, just north of St. Louis. So a little bit of barbecue country between St. Louis and Kansas City. And my dad seemed to know every backwoods barbecue joint in every small town between all around the area. And that was one of his favorite foods. And so it was just something that I grew up with. And then I left and joined the military, and I just picked it up. It was one of those, it was a way for me to do something that reminded me of home, reminded me of family. And so the minute I was able to get a grill, get out on my own while I was in the military and get a grill, we started playing around, and it really just grew from there.
Okay, okay. While you was in the military, you was in America, or was you all over?
We were all over. I was stationed in Belgium, and then I was stationed down in Tampa, Florida, and then I went to Germany, and then I finished my career in Oklahoma City. So we just went all over really, and I really got into ribs a little bit when I was in Germany because Germans at that time really didn't eat them, so I could get them for cheap. And then I messed up one day, and the butcher asked me, he's like, "Why do you buy these?" And so I cooked some and took them to him, and he stopped selling them to me after that. And so he started figuring out how to cook them. He's like, "Oh, no ribs. I'm out of ribs this week."
That's funny. So when did it come to the point where I guess did somebody teach you, or you just practice on your own to get good, or?
It, it's a lot of self-taught knowledge. Burned up a lot of briskets. Threw away a lot of, went, oh, that was wrong. Back when I started, barbecue hadn't really hit the way that it's hit now. I really was getting into it probably 2 or 3 years before Pitmasters and all of that stuff
Hmm.
started coming out. So by that time I was in Oklahoma, and so the proximity to Texas, of course, Kansas City, there was a lot of it around, but there really wasn't. You taught yourself if you wanted to learn how to do it. So a lot of self-research, a lot of self-study. And like I said, of course, that was back when brisket was 18 cents a pound, and it didn't hurt near as much to ruin one.
Yeah, definitely. There's a big difference now. So I said you can't be playing around. You got to know what you're doing, because if not,
That's right.
I
I
got a
tell
wife.
people all the time, I tell people all the time, don't. They're like, oh, I'm going to cook a brisket. Tell me how to cook my first brisket. And I tell them all the time, go buy chuck roast. When you figure out how to cook chuck roast, then you can start practicing on briskets. It'll save you a whole lot of money.
And a marriage and everything else. I wish I would be bringing $200 brisket. My wife, you playing around with these? No. But that's definitely a good idea, though, for anybody. They can practice trimming on other stuff, and when they get the confidence up, they can switch over to the real thing. Before you started competing in Rib Cookoff Association, did you do any like other four meets, or did you just jump straight in the cook-off?
We did. We actually started off as KCBS cooks, and it was an eye-opening experience for certain. That's when we realized very quickly, yes, we've come a long way, but there's a long way we got to go before if we're going to stay in this game.
Oh yeah, it's definitely no joke. That's why everybody jump in and reality check. People be on their game when they're on there. That's definitely, you have to know your stuff before you get in there. Do you remember your first time that you competed against in KCBS?
I do. We went to, it was Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, smoking at the fort. This was probably 12, 15 years ago, I'm guessing. And I had bought an American barbecue system, an ABS Pit Boss, a small rotisserie smoker, and we'd figured out how to use it, and we loaded it up in an old flatbed trailer, and off we went with our stuff. And Fort Gibson's a little town, and we're set up on the side of the road, and we have like I said, it was an open trailer, so we're sleeping in lawn chairs on the side of the road. Train comes blowing through town at 2:00 in the morning, which was good for us because that's about the time we had to wake up and light the fires to start brisket. But it was, people were looking at us like we'd lost our minds. And we're looking around going, oh, this is going to be interesting. I'm sure they looked at us and thought, here comes the Beverly Hillbillies of barbecue, because they were in campers, and like I said, but it was a good time. We had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. And I always used the philosophy, do a lot of research, but at the end of the day, you got to jump in with both feet. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And so fortunately, we did not finish last in any category. So as far as that goes, we held our own, I feel like.
Hey, that's something to be proud of, because you didn't get dead last. So it motivates you for the next time and to keep going. How many did y'all usually do back then a year?
Back then, I still had kids at home, so we really didn't do very many, and we'd do 2 or 3, 4 a year. I had 4 teenagers in the house, and there was a lot of money going out to sports and those kind of things, and barbecue's not cheap. It was a good way to have fun, and there was a group of guys that we tailgated with and went to the OU football games, and it was just really a way for us outside of football season to have a good time and just spend quality time together.
Were they like gigantic groups of when the competitions, like 20, 30 teams, or how many was the size?
Back then, yeah, most of the competitions we went to back then, they were right in that, yes, sir, that 20, 25 team. And there really wasn't that many competitions close back then as well. I want to say there was 6 competitions in Oklahoma back in those days. So we would hit as many of those as we could. But since then, really, barbecue has exploded. And if you've got the time and the money and the drive, and you're willing to cook with different organizations, you can pretty much cook 50, 52 weekends a year if you want to.
Yeah, some people do that too. I was like, that's a lot of time and effort. They're point chasers and stuff like that in the KCBS, where they be rolling. It's definitely strenuous. Anybody that you're cooking with now, did you know them back then, or did you run across them and didn't know it back then?
I'm sure Donnie Teal, he's a legend. Donnie has cooked, he got inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, or he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at the Royal in November, and Donnie's cooked over 800 contests.
That's crazy.
So I'm sure we ran into him at several different contests and didn't realize he was up on the stage and we were watching the stage most of the time. But Other than that, not really a lot. There's a lot of new guys in the game now that have come on in the last 5 8 years, and we don't do KCBS very much anymore. Still, the KCBS cooks that are good and that are hitting week in and week out, they stay on that circuit, and they have to in order to maintain proficiency and to continue to get in those calls.
Yeah, definitely. Now they flying out and borrowing equipment and everything else just these days. I was like,
Yes, sir.
wow. Your name, the RB3, how did you come up with that?
So it's actually a play on mathematics. It's b cubed, b squared. So we were sitting around trying to figure out a name, and so we're going to cook KCBS, and we wanted something that was a little catchy. And in KCBS, you cook ribs, cook briskets, you cook butts, and you cook chicken. Back then, it was all chicken thighs. So it's ribs, briskets, butts, and birds. B cubed.
It's definitely catchy.
So that's where it come up with. It's just RB3 is what a lot of people call us now. It's just you can't use that superscript in emails or anything like that. And hey, we're good with that. People see the logo now. I have a lot of people that will watch them and I can tell what they're doing. They'll see the logo and then they're like, okay, I get what you're doing here. And the more we're out there and the better we do,
They'll get familiar
the more
with
people know who we are.
Because I came up with one. I had B squared Q, which is BBQ. But I'm like, I asked my wife, is anybody going to get this just to come up with a t-shirt, just something to put on a t-shirt? But I was like, is anybody going to know what this is? That's why I liked it when I saw it. I was like, oh, okay. That's good. Who were some of your early influences in barbecue?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Like I said, back when I started, there wasn't really. This was before Pitmasters. This was before. It was really local guys to Oklahoma. Four Legs Up, Kelly from Four Legs Up. Asked him a lot of questions. Dave Busca from Butcher Barbecue. Looked up to him quite a bit and would ask him questions. And Dave wouldn't give you any secrets. You never met a man that knew meat better than Busca. He's a longtime butcher. And so I would go to him and say, hey, can I ask you questions about trimming this or trimming that? And he would take the time to say, think about this. And he would talk through things. And so that was nice to have. And he's local here to Oklahoma. I had never met, it's funny, Cosmo was on the circuit back then.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't until after he had started his company and really wasn't cooking much that I really got to meet and know him. Travis Clark was hitting a lot, and Travis was always friendly. You could, hey Travis, what about this, or what do you think about that? And he'd give you his opinion. I'm sure he kept a few secrets in his pocket because he was hitting pretty much every time he walked out the door. But he was always nice, always pleasant to be, always helpful.
Yeah, I know around 2017, 2018, he was on and popping back then.
Yeah. It seems like even today, if he decides he's going to go out and cook a contest, you can bet he's going to get a call. He still knows how to do it.
And David Boschke, I'm trying to get him on because he is so knowledgeable. Every time I listen to him, I learn something new. And also just going to his website, he got so much information on there that I was like, he knows a lot. And basically knowing the meat, knowing smoke, knowing how to cook, and using a pellet grill, which people down a lot, but he showed people that they can win on a pellet grill. So he knows the stuff.
Yes, he does. And he's an all-around nice guy. Like I said, especially if you start talking to him, he'll talk to you a little bit about the different muscles, and just that man's forgotten more than I'll learn probably when it comes to some of those things.
Exactly. So what drew you, when did you first hear of the Rib Cookoff Association, and what drew you to them?
So it's relatively new. It started last year, was the first full year, and it was Dirk and Jody. They're local to Oklahoma. They're in Stillwater, and the draw for me is it is the one meat. Actually, there's some contests. There's two. They brought chicken wings in this year. They didn't have that last year, but the draw for me is really that single focus, and you can be in and out depending on where the contest is. You can be in and out in a day. I'm in IT project management. One of the guys that cooks with me most of the time, he's a chief information officer for a company here in Oklahoma. So sometimes finding the time to get out and go is difficult. And to not have to load up Thursday, roll out, and be there Friday morning and set up, and then that was extremely appealing to us. And the fact that it was an organization being started here in the state, we wanted to support them. And once we got started, we really found a niche, and we're just going to keep running until we can't.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a good concept they came up with, but I had took a class, Chris Schaefer, up in Illinois, and they were there. I didn't know them at that time, but then I was started the podcast and I was reaching out to people, and I reached out. I said, let me get the Rib Cookoff Association so they could come talk about the association. And then when they came on, I was like, I know y'all. And it was them. Definitely, they were very nice people and friendly, down to earth, and I can tell him he got a good thing going on, and I'm glad to see it spreading and stuff like that, because it gives people another option versus having to go, because people got families and people got work and other stuff to do that they can just pop in there, cook, and get out of there, versus spending half the week sitting in the parking lot trying to cook 4 meats and stuff like that. It's definitely a good option for people.
And it's affordable compared to a KCBS contest where you're hitting those Wagyu briskets and you're cooking 8-10 slabs of ribs to turn in 8 bones. KCBS gets, none of it's cheap, but KCBS it can get very expensive very quickly. And the Rib Cookoff Association, the entry fees are affordable. You pick your own meat, so you can spend as little or as much as you want. Prize money is good. So it's really, like you said, the concept that Dirk and Jody have is good. The application, it's been well executed. And to me, there's not anything unappealing about it at all. I'm excited about it, about everything they're doing. And I'm excited every time we walk out the door to go to a contest.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's competitive and stuff like that. Because a lot of people are starting to join. They say they got a lot of people that signed up, as well as overseas, which I think she's over there now, about to do some contests. On a typical contest, how many racks of ribs do you cook?
So we typically run 3 racks per turn in. So if it's just a single rib contest, we're going to run 3 racks. If it's a double, we're going to run typically 6. And that's really one of the reasons I do that is you can do it in 2. But man, you have 1 rack that you miss someplace where the butcher's cut a big chunk out of one of or you got a big knife cut in or something, and you get a drawback. You want to have options. And so we run 3 racks. You have to turn in a minimum of 6 ribs. We try to get 8 at every turn in. Doesn't always happen. And then what's left over, I have a father-in-law that absolutely loves ribs. So he's never mad when I come home and go visit him and drop off a care package. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. So the judges, I know they usually get judges from this part of the sponsors and people, just random people and stuff like that, which I like that also, because it gives a different, instead of having the same people each contest that they have to bring in there, it gives different people a chance, the opportunity to try something different and go judge a contest and see how it is and get an opportunity to taste some world-class ribs. So I like how they do that. What typically do they look for in a winning rib, as far as sweet or hot and spicy, or what do you think?
And as soon as I figure that out, I'll let you know. I'll keep you on speed dial. It's a little different everywhere you go, really, to what the judges are looking for. Here in Oklahoma, they want a little bit of sweet, but they're looking also for a lot of savory, just a touch of heat. You get up into Kansas City, up into that area, they're going to want it a little sweeter. Down in Texas, they're going to want you to back off the sugar a little bit. You get over Mississippi, Louisiana, my experience is they want it really sweet, candy sweet. So really, it's just a lot of it is where you're at and what they're used to. Because these are a lot of local judges, they're thinking about what their local rib shack down the road and what do they put out. Sometimes you do a little research and you drive through town and not that we want to eat any more barbecue, but you hear about places, and especially if it's someplace unfamiliar. If you've got a friend that lives over there or something, hey, where do you all go? Where's everybody eat? What's that profile? But you never want to change your profile very much. Once you've built it and it's hitting, you try to leave it alone as much as possible. So
Okay. Okay. And what kind of smoker are you using? What kind of smoker did you start off on, and did you change it, or are you still using the same kind of smoker that you was back then?
we started off on the American Barbecue Systems, the ABS Pit Boss, which it was an offset, box was to the rear. It was a stick burner, and then I actually sold it and built one. I built a big offset that we used for a long time. Loved it, but I got tired of lugging around a 1,400-pound smoker in
Wow.
and out of a trailer. So right now we're running Gateway drums right now. They're fantastic. There's a lot of great things about Gateway's drums. You're right up over your heat source, so hot and fast is what they're designed to do. So we take advantage of that. Another thing about those is weather really doesn't affect them a whole lot because of the way the barrel works and the constant movement of air through them. If you get rained on or something, they're easy to move around because they're smaller. They're basically a 55-gallon steel drum, so you can move them around a little bit and get them up under your canopy. But the fact of the matter is, if water's hitting them, unless you're just getting a 3-hour, inch an hour rain or something, they're not going to cool off. They're just going to keep on. You might have to adjust your dampers a little bit, but they're going to keep perking. And so we have found them to be, for what we're doing right now, that's one of the better answers. A lot of the guys that are out there are using the Hasty Bake Roughneck, and that's really, we see the Gateways and the Hasty Bakes is what you see the most of right now. Hasty Bake works on the same concept. It just, the way the heat moves in the Gateway drum and the Roughneck, it's just a little bit different. One of them kind of spins up in a vortex, and one of them rolls more in a convection, but exactly the same concept, and they're both designed to go hot and fast. There are still some, Donnie Teal still uses his Jambo, and he's still kicking butt. And there's some guys that's what they know and that's what they love, and so really it's personal preference. We have a new smoker coming in that we're going to play around with, but for the most part, that'd be for doing big events, and we'll run these Gateways. And unless somebody decides they want to sponsor me and give me some free ones, we'll keep running them St. Louis drums.
I know that's right, but yeah, definitely. That's something new because I didn't know the weather didn't affect them like that. Because I told him, because I had interviewed him, and I told him that when he came up with that, he was on point with that, especially with the intakes. He took the whole game of barbecue to another level when he came up with that drum. So yeah. I told him, you don't even realize I don't think you realize how you changed the game of barbecue with that, because people are able to sleep now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Man, I run them down here in Oklahoma in the wintertime, and I don't know much about Oklahoma, but the wind blows all the time. When the wind's not blowing, we're looking around going, something's wrong. And it's not unusual to be, in the wintertime, it's not unusual at all to be sub-zero with the wind chill, and those things, they just keep perking. Once you figure out how to run them, I feel like they're pretty much bulletproof.
Yeah, because everybody says it's pretty much easy to do it, and when I talked to him, he gave a quick explanation of where people go wrong. They try to put too much fire in there, and instead of starting a big little softball size of fire and let it go from there, but people try to put too much fire in there, and that's where they mess up at. So if you perfect it, I mean, you on point, because I went to a NASCAR event because they sponsor a race car, the Blues Hall, and they had one of them running for hours and hours cooking on it. And it was just running and running and running, and they didn't put no more charcoal in it or anything. So it runs. I'm a witness to that.
Just don't leave the lid off, or if you forget and leave the lid off, you'll have a dumpster fire. That's the only thing you got to remember. Put the lid back on.
Definitely. So right now, you're currently 3 points behind the top spot. How does that affect your mindset going into a competition?
Not at all. We've been in this. It's been really close, and so I was out in the points lead for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then it's flopped, and it's my mindset is I try to have the same mindset going out every single week, and that is control what I can control, do what I do, follow my procedures, follow my flavor profiles, and then after that, once that box hits the judges' table, it's up to them. We've done all we can do. So now, if they get out too far in front of me, I may change that answer, but I doubt it. We really control what you can and be fiercely competitive every time you walk out the door. Think you're going to win.
Exactly, positive mindset. So basically, since y'all just doing one meet, do you think it's more pressure than a traditional competition with 4 meets?
Actually, it's more laid back. A lot of times we'll have 2 ribs. We'll do a rib A and a rib B, and there's time in between them. And it's a little more relaxed, which is why a lot of people like it. I don't know if you've ever watched the whole 2-hour turn in that a KCBS contest goes through, where you're turning in every 30 minutes for 2 hours. That is a gauntlet run. But at the end of that 2 hours, you're exhausted. It's just because it's just pop. You're from one thing to the next. And with this, you get a little time to breathe in between them. And so for me personally, it's a little more relaxing, which is part of what we want. We work hard all week, and this is our downtime, our therapy.
Yeah, definitely. So coming up, are there any areas that you feel that you cook better in than others as far as the states or anything like that? Different states y'all be in?
After last weekend, definitely not Kansas City. We've done really good there, and we've done really good there, and we've not. I do really well in Oklahoma and Texas. I feel like we're still learning the Mississippi area right now. We cooked over there last year. We did okay. Not where we wanted to be, but we did okay. This year I think I'm going to be in Mississippi 3 or 4 times this year. And so we're hoping to really figure out what that profile is, what little change we need to make their taste buds happy. But again, I firmly believe in the flavors that we put out there and the profile that we're running. And so at the moment, we've been pretty lucky most everywhere we've been. But definitely we do better in Oklahoma and Texas for sure.
Yeah. And I know the weather probably plays a big factor because the weather is different everywhere you go. So I know that's a big adjustment for y'all too, with the different weather in each state. And because right now here it's humid as I don't know what, and then you go to another state, it's a dry heat, and
Right.
somewhere else it may be rainy all the time, or like you said, the wind may be blowing, or so I know that plays a big part. And do y'all be in parking lots all the time, or do y'all be kind of like enclosed sometimes, or?
We're all over. Sometimes it's parking lot, sometimes it's an open field. We're fortunate enough that we own a trailer, so we run out of that trailer as often as possible. If it's within 3 to 4 or 5 hours of the house, we're going to take that trailer with us for several reasons. 1, everything's on it. It's convenient. 2, I can sleep in it and not pay a hotel bill. But we also, like I mentioned to you, I'm in IT and my cooking partner's in IT, and we're information guys. And before we leave, we're looking, where's the wind going to be coming from? What's the temperature going to be? What's the humidity look like? What elevation are we going to be cooking at? We know before we get there, okay, the wind's going to be coming out of the southwest, so we want to set our trailer up so we're using it as a wind block. And so really, excuse me, it's just thinking through that process, and hopefully it keeps working for us.
All right. And when you mentioned that you did have a partner, what duties do each of y'all have, or how did y'all split that up?
Like I said, Dave is a chief information officer, and he refers to himself as the lackey. His sole purpose is to get out there and decompress. And so he wants nothing to do for the most part with the inside of the trailer. He takes care of the fires, and you tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. I don't want to make any decisions while we're out here. And so unfortunately, Dave doesn't get to go to all of them with me, because it sure is nice when he's there, because there's a lot of things I don't have to think about when he's there. He's making sure that if a wind shifts, he's watching the pit to make sure, making a slight adjustment to keep that pit from getting hot. So For the most part, he does a lot of that, and then I'm working the actual rib cook and the seasonings and the trimmings, but Dave can do it if he's. I hosted a contest this year, and because I was the host, I wasn't going to cook, and so Dave jumped in there and he ran it all by himself. Told me he's only going to do that once a year, and that's when I'm hosting the contest. But it's another set of eyes, and it's like anything else that you do when you have two people that have that same goal. That extra set of eyes picks up a lot of things that you might miss. And we've been doing it long enough now that it's just natural. When we get to a site, I start doing my thing, he starts doing his thing, and it's pretty much a well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely have somebody that you got good chemistry with, that you're not fumbling all over and arguing all in there about stuff. So it's
Right.
definitely good to have somebody that you're in sync with. Everybody know their duty and just can, like you said, just get there and just start doing it without, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And you can focus on what you're having to do without having to turn around and look and see if they're doing their job. So it's definitely good to have somebody like that in there. When it comes to great ribs, what do you think is the most important, flavor or tenderness?
You got to have both. It's for a great rib, you got to have both. I can give you a great profile and a tough rib, and you're not going to like it. I can give you a tender rib with no flavor, and you're not going to like it. So it's a balance between those two, and so finding that's what's the fun of doing this. And there's a fine line, especially when it comes to tenderness, depending on the region that you're in. Again, KCBS, you get up into the Kansas City, up into that area, it's a little bit different what they're looking for than when you get down further south over Mississippi, down here in Oklahoma, down into Texas, the falling off the bone that you hear people talk about. So I personally believe you got to have the best combination of both of those in order to have a great rib.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I agree with that also. But that tenderness, boy, you got to know what you're doing. It takes practice, and people want to pull out the thermometer and all that, but people tell you that you got to touch it. You got to touch it and know how it feels. So
We have a very expensive thermometer. Everybody uses them. Anybody that's in the barbecue, anybody that's in competition barbecue, the thermopens, we've all got them, and they're fantastic. You can get a temp in a second and a half, but the majority of your competition cooks, they use those as a probe more than they do that. We read the temperature on them, but it's that feel. That's what we're looking for, just exactly like you're talking about. We know by hitting that rib with the tip of that thermometer, okay, she's a little tight. We need another 10 minutes, and so yes, you're exactly right. It's learning that feel, and that only comes from experience and you cooking a lot of racks.
yeah, yeah. Do y'all practice in between, or do y'all cook so many that y'all don't have to practice no more?
We don't do a lot of practice. We will start after we're done in November, because the last contest of the year is usually for Rib Cookoff Association. Anyway, it's going to be Thanksgiving weekend, the last chance to dance, and then you're not going to cook another RCOA contest until Worlds, which was in January. I think they're going to move it to April, but I don't know if that's 100% set but I feel like that's where it's going to go. So we'll take some time off, but before we go to Worlds, we'll definitely dial up some racks and do some test runs. I do some flavor profile runs off and on throughout the year just to see, especially if I feel like something's not right and we're starting to see points drop a little bit, but I don't do them on ribs. I buy pork tenderloins or pork chops, and I'll do flavor profile runs on those because I feel like either one of those really is going to replicate the flavor that you're going to be able to produce on a rib, and it's not a rib. And my wife doesn't look at me and go, seriously, you brought another rack of those into the house. Yeah, we do practice a little bit, but not really on the ribs themselves. It's more, I think we've cooked, it's July. I think I've probably cooked somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 racks this year so far, give or take, maybe more than that.
That's a lot.
So
what helps y'all stay consistent each week? Y'all go to y'all have a timeline or anything like that, or y'all just automatically know? Or
We definitely have a timeline. I have a spreadsheet set up that I can go into, and I put turn-in times in, and it calculates everything backwards for me. And then I print those sheets, and I put those sheets up in the trailer or tape them to a table if we're running a contest that we don't have the trailer with us. Just something visual that you can look at and go, okay, it's time to start the fire, or it's time to do this, or it's plus it's a reference. Not all of these contests have turn-ins at the same time. They're similar, but sometimes it's 2:30, sometimes it's 3:30. We cooked one a couple weeks ago. It was 3:30 and 4:30, and so I want that visual reference that I can look back at and go, okay, I don't want to miss. I've got too much money invested in this. I don't want to miss my turn-in window. So we do use those timelines. I have my recipes in my phone written as far as mixtures and everything that we use. I have it in 2 or 3 places to make sure that I don't lose it. But I'm consistent in the way I mix my wraps and the way I mix my marinades, and all of that stuff it's all measured the same week in and week out. I do it on Wednesdays. I mean, it's actually pretty scheduled. If we're going to a contest, ribs come out on Tuesday morning on my way out the door to go to work. Ribs come out on Tuesday morning and go in the fridge so that Wednesday night they're ready for me to trim them. I get ribs trimmed and vacuum packed Wednesday night, so they're ready to go. That's when I mix up my injections and stuff, and so they're ready to go. And that way, I don't have anything to really worry about Thursday. Friday, we're loading up and rolling if it's more than 2.5 or 3 hours away. So there's definitely consistency week in and week out, and that's just the way we do it. It keeps me from forgetting stuff, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah. So how does that, when an ancillary factors in? Because I know y'all do wings most of the time, but what if it's something different? Do y'all usually not do it, or y'all try to fit it into y'all's schedule if it's something besides wings?
It depends on what it is. If it's not something I've done a lot of, I usually won't mess with it. We do the chicken wings. Right now, I'm 4th in chicken wings in points, so we definitely do those, and that falls into the timeline really well. And there are a few contests that we'll do there's one in Jones, Oklahoma every year, and they have theirs is always the same. It's Blue and Gold Sausage, which is a local sausage company, and they're actually it's not something you can buy in the stores. It's actually sausage that's made for school kids to sell as fundraisers.
Oh, wow.
And they've been in business for, 25, 30 years, I think, maybe longer than that. But we always do that simply because that's a good organization that gives back to the community, and we want to promote their product and those kind of things. But for the most part, people are sticking with the wings. Kids contests change a lot, but most of the ancillaries, they stick pretty close to the same things.
Okay, that's good to hear. Okay, so you've been to date for Rib Cookoff. How many contests do you think you have cooked to date?
This year, I think I'm probably at about 18 this year, 18 or 20, I think, probably 18.
How many last year? Did you do a full season last year?
Last year we maxed at 18. I think we did maybe 19 last year. We're really running hard this year. We're hitting as many as we can hit. I think we're on track to do somewhere in the 30 to 34 contest range this year.
But yeah, I mean, it's a tight race at the top, so I mean, you're in it now, so you might as well finish it up.
Yeah. Every contest, every point. It's if you're not careful, you blink and you'll be 10 points behind. And my wife and I are going to Iceland this year and for a vacation. And when we were figuring out where we were going to go and what we were going to do, I was like, okay, I got my rib schedule, I got my contest schedule. So it literally that trip was scheduled around to make sure that I only missed one contest. And every other trip, every other week that we looked at putting it in, I was going to miss 2. Oh, wow. I'm like, I can't. And we're super excited to do it, but I'm also super excited that I'm only missing one contest.
Definitely. Yeah, because Mr. Oliver, he's on the roll right now. The past couple contests.
Bobby is hot right now for sure, and he's a good cook. Bobby's a good cook. There's a reason Bobby's a 2-time world champion. So he knows how to hit it. And I'm fortunate enough that like I said, I'm fortunate enough I travel with him and we cook a lot together. And Bobby has taught me a lot. So
Don't you use
good
his
friend.
rub or don't you use the seasoning?
I do. Yeah, Bobby is one of my sponsors. Bobby was actually my first sponsor. Bobby was the first one to believe in me and say, "Hey, let's get together and do a little something." Everything we cook's got his stuff on it. It's my new salt and pepper here at the house, I'm sure.
That's definitely good to hear. People supporting people like that. Uh, Outside of cooking competitions and stuff, what's your favorite meat to grill?
Probably brisket. I don't cook near enough of it. That's more of a time thing.
Mm-hmm.
But briskets are they're their own little animal, and the satisfaction of hitting a good brisket, it's just nice. So it's I do enjoy that. And Christmas every year we try to smoke a whole prime rib. So that's always a lot of fun. Kind of change that up every year, and so I really just like to play. But there's definitely some favorites.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna put you. If someone was entering the Rib Cookoff and they're new, what advice would you give them as far as jumping into it?
I take a class, talk to people, come out, do a contest, and talk to the boys and girls that are around you, and let them know, hey, this is my first time, and get the experience, get it under your belt, and then find a class. The thing that you have to remember and understand about competition cooking, whether it's barbecue or anything else, is you get one bite most of the time, and you have to say everything you want to say in that one bite. And so that's a different mindset, and it's a different. You just have to approach it differently, and it's until you've done it a lot, it's not necessarily a natural approach. But to really understand and appreciate that, you've got to go out there and cook one, and then go, okay, now I know what's going on. Then, like I said, talk to people, find out who's good, take some classes, and then if you're taking a class, don't take a class for somebody's flavor profile. I still take 2, 3 classes a year when I can, if I can. My wife's like, "You're taking another class." I'm like, "Absolutely." And it's always it's about technique. It's about what are they doing. Yeah, flavor profiles are there, and especially if they're giving a class, there's a reason they're giving it. It's because they're hitting and they're winning. But you can't run their flavor profile. They can tell you everything they do, and they can say, "Yeah, I put this rub on first. I put this," and you can watch them do it. But replicating that is next to impossible. But if you learn the techniques, if you learn how they control fire, if you learn how they control their pit, if you watch them and you see they're spraying Pam on their wire rack, and you're like, how come I've never sprayed Pam on? There's just a lot of little things like that you'll learn that you really find yourself going, "Ah, that is so simple. I've been doing this for 5 years and never thought of that." And that will get you ahead of the game faster than anything. I was stubborn, and my wife would tell me, take a class. And I'm like, I don't need to take a class. And I'm not going to spend that. I'm not going to, this tells you how old I am. I'm not going to spend $500 to take a class. Yeah, I spent far more than that, I promise you, not taking classes.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So, I ain't gonna lie. I've taken 5, and I like taking classes. I try to take 2 a year because people say it's a thing of taking too many, but I don't agree because you can pick up something from each person, and you don't got to go there just for their whole recipe. Because at the end of the day, a lot of them do the same thing. The recipes are the same, but there's things that they stress that other people don't stress. Like one of them stressed the importance of sharp knives and other little timelines and all that. So each one you can pick up something different from them and add to yours. It don't necessarily, like you said, have to be the recipe, but there's other things that you might not even think of. It might be a pan or a utensil that you never seen before or something like that that can help make your cook be efficient. So that's why I say it doesn't hurt to go learn from somebody because you never know what they'll teach you because that might be the thing that puts you over the top. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I traveled. You see, I stay in Georgia, like I told you. I didn't took two in Georgia. I took Robbie Royal and Myron Mixons, and then I done traveled up to Missouri and took one. I took one in Virginia. I took one in Illinois, just to go. Number one, for the class. Also, just to make connections, meet people, because people are great and friendly like that. But it's I enjoy barbecue, so I just like being around it. And I advise people to just go walk around competitions and stuff like that. Even if there's some that might not be able to afford to go compete, but you can go walk around, meet some folks, and you'd be surprised how many people invite you in and talk to you. And I was up in Memphis in May, and people talking to them and stuff like that. Like I had my own team or something like that. So it definitely just making the attempt to go just speak to people and just show your face and be friendly with them. And people, hey, you need any information, just call me or something like that. And it's definitely helpful. So, yeah, you're definitely right
Absolutely.
about that. I got one question. I'll put you on. It's a pressure question. If you didn't have a partner that you have now, and you had to cook rib A, and you had to pick somebody to cook rib B, and you could pick anybody in history, dead or alive, who would you pick to cook rib B?
Man, that's a hard one. Obviously, the way Bobby Obler is hitting right now, I mean, Bobby, anybody in history. Actually, that's really probably not a hard question to answer. I lost my father recently, and like I said, he loved barbecue, and my dad only got to see me cook at one contest. And so, if I were able to reach back and say to pick somebody, just anybody to cook with, I would definitely. It would have to be my dad. He mentored me in my life. He gave me a lot of life lessons. He taught me to be the man that I am today. And so if I got to spend one more time with him, I sure would take it.
All right, that's an excellent answer. I guarantee you'd be proud to see what you're doing, and you see all the trophies behind your head. So I definitely you'll be happy to see what you have achieved. So I got one more thing that I usually do with everybody. You know how in college basketball they have the tournament bracket? So what I came up with is a tournament bracket of 16 meats that you cook on the grill. I'm going to give you each matchup, and you just tell me which one you prefer to eat, and we'll see which one's the winner.
Okay.
All right. First matchup is lamb versus brisket.
Brisket.
All right. Next matchup is smoked ham versus sausage.
Ooh, sausage.
Okay. Next matchup is smoked turkey versus beef ribs.
Man, that's putting beef against beef right there. Short ribs, beef short ribs, or beef spare ribs?
You take the choice.
It'd be short ribs all day long. Let's say ribs.
Okay.
Let's say short ribs.
Okay. Next matchup is barbecue shrimp versus hamburger.
Hamburger.
Okay. Next matchup is pork chop versus smoked chicken.
Pork chops.
Okay. And next matchup is smoked bologna versus pork ribs.
Ooh. Man. Good smoked bologna is hard to beat, but we'll go pork ribs.
Be surprised bologna won a few times.
I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. Hot dog versus pork belly.
Pork belly.
Okay. Next matchup is steak versus burnt ends.
Ooh. Steak versus burnt ends. I'm going to have to go with a big old ribeye.
Okay. All right. Next round is brisket versus sausage.
Brisket.
All right. Next matchup, beef ribs versus hamburger.
Beef ribs.
Okay. Next matchup, pork chop versus pork ribs.
Pork chop.
All right, my man. I love pork chop. Pork belly versus steak.
Steak.
Right. All right, final four, brisket versus beef ribs.
Brisket. My poor puppy's named Brisket. He keeps hearing me say his name. He's over here under my feet. But what, Dad?
Like,
Why you keep calling me?
All right, pork chop versus steak.
Oh, pork chop versus steak. Man, I grew up 20 miles from the pork capital of the world. Good pork chop's hard to beat. I know they're gonna kill me for saying that here in Oklahoma, but I'm gonna have to say pork chop.
Right. All right, final matchup is brisket versus pork chop.
Brisket's still the king. When your puppy's named Brisket, what else can you say?
Definitely. All right, your therapy session is over. If you have any sponsors or anybody that you want to promote or any social media or anything, you can give that now.
Like I said, I'm sponsored by Twisted Oliver, and I just appreciate Bobby believing in me. He's always there, always a mentor to me, and my wife. I've got to thank my wife for. She laughs. She tells people at church all the time that this time of the year she's a barbecue widow because we're running and gunning almost every weekend. 4th of July was the only weekend I was home, going to be in town in the month of July. I couldn't do it without her support. And so, yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say that.
Oh, no problem. I want to shout out my wife because she's always upstairs keeping the babies quiet while I'm doing this. Cause that's how I tell people it's important to have a good support system, somebody that's got your back and pushing you forward and someone that's encouraging you when you need it and stuff like that. Hey, the wives are, hey, don't count them out, boy, because they're a very important part of doing this stuff. Hey, shout them out all you want. I don't have a problem with that. But I definitely thank you for coming on, and definitely, I know you early in the year you won one of the contests you won. You got an automatic entry in the World Championship, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yep, we did,
Right.
and we were 2/10 of a point from a perfect score. Yeah, that still irritates me. I want to know where those 2/10 were. But that's all right. We'll get them before the year's up.
Yes, sir. So I look forward to having you back on and hearing good news, how you came back and took the point lead. And definitely
So,
brag to them that you were the first one on this podcast.
well, absolutely. Anytime you want me, you just give me a call. I'd love to. I'd love to come back on with you again, Tavis. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I appreciate you telling your story and encouraging people and giving people advice. And I definitely will reach out and get you back on and get an update of what's going on because I definitely keep up with what y'all doing and stuff like that. And keep tagging me like you do because I don't mind. So I keep watching y'all. Definitely good luck out there and be safe and enjoy yourself.
Thank you, sir.
All right. And that ends our episode. We appreciate you and you have a good day, sir.
All right, you too. Appreciate it.
We just wrapped up another session of barbecue therapy. Remember, stay patient, stay passionate, and keep that fire burning. Hit subscribe, share the good smoke, and pay the secretary on your way out. Have a blessed day.